let me ask you a question. Where are you? Really, where are you? It's easy to go through life feeling certain about things without really examining our beliefs. We assume we know where we are, what is true, and sometimes what all this means. And for the most part, we don't question it. But if you stop and you really look closely, a lot of that certainty starts to fall apart. Sometimes we hear something or repeat something so many times that we stop examining it. It just starts to feel true. And that's where Zen practice becomes really important. Because one of the most important things in Zen is learning how to stay open amidst uncertainty, instead of rushing to conclusions or clinging to narratives. In Zen, we call that don't know mind. It's not the same as confusion or ignorance. It's the willingness to let go of unquestioned assumptions and see what's actually here. No matter what other people say, if you want to see the truth, you have to keep that kind of mind. So let me ask you a question. Where are you? Really, where are you? Most people will say something about their location if I ask them that question. Or maybe I'm on Earth. Where's Earth? It's in the solar system. Where's the solar system? It's in the Milky Way. What about the universe? Where's the universe? That's about as far as I can go with my knowledge. But maybe you can go a step further. But at some point, you run out of answers. It's hard to say where you are. Eventually, if you really look closely, you don't really know where you are. And that's actually good. It's not a problem. It's the truth. You don't know. When you really look, it's difficult to say for sure, and even harder to explain. This is the essence of don't know mind. It doesn't mean confusion or blankness or giving up. It's the awareness that our knowledge has limits. And it's the willingness to stay present when those limits appear. That space is very important, but it's hard for people to stay there. Because as soon as they don't know, they want to replace that with something. An opinion, a belief, an explanation, a ritual, a system, or a story about themselves. Anything that gives them a sense of comfort or stability. The reason this matters is that false certainty and unquestioned assumptions are the biggest obstacles to overcome in Zen practice. When people feel uncertain, they become uncomfortable. They start reaching for anything that helps them feel comfortable again. They assume that what feels familiar, what feels accessible, or what appeals to most people must be what is actually helpful. This happens in spiritual practices too. I see this all the time. People say to me, you know, your classes are not too popular. Maybe you could change what you're doing and you could make more money. And then they'll say, you know what's popular? If you do this or that, people really like that. Maybe you should have more rituals. Maybe you should use more New Age language that people can relate to. And I say, I don't know. That might work, but that's not how I learned. And I wouldn't feel comfortable teaching something that I didn't do myself. Also, people don't need more things to hold on to. They need less. They need to let go of whatever they're clinging to, even if it's just in this moment. These are very different types of teachings. One type tries to give people something to hold on to. Zen asks them to let go. I've also heard people respond saying, no, people need these ceremonies. They need these rituals to focus their mind so they can let go. And I say, no, that's what they want. It's not necessarily what they need. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of these things. A lot of the time, people just want another form of support or another method or something else that gives them comfort. But often the problem is not that they lack another method. The problem is that they don't want to do what's already in front of them. They want something else because they think something else will make it easier somehow. But Zen is not about giving people more things to cling to. It's about helping people see clearly what they're clinging to. This is why I don't automatically agree with what people say they need, because people think they need all kinds of things. And people also want all kinds of things that aren't good for them. A lot of people would rather go to a bar and get drunk than come and meditate. Does that mean I should bring alcohol into Zen classes just because people prefer it? What's the difference? Popularity or preference is not proof that something helps. What people want is not always what they need. And this is just not about spiritual practice. People cling to whatever gives them a sense of comfort or stability. And once people start to measure things by popularity or what makes them feel comfortable, it usually doesn't take long before they start measuring things by money too. Someone said to me, if you're a Zen master and you can just choose to do whatever you want, why don't you just choose to make more money? You need money. And I said, making money is easy. They said, well, then why don't you go get it? And why don't you do it? My answer might surprise you. I'm just like everybody else. I need money to eat and live in this world. I need to make money too. And I'm willing to work hard to earn it. But the truth is, here in America at least, there's so many opportunities to make money, but it always costs you time and energy. That makes understanding what you really need even more important. Learning to live without things is very difficult for most people, but it's what gives you freedom. And you can see this everywhere. I know people, no matter how much money they make, they spend it all and more. For them, making money is easy, but saving money is difficult. They suffer because they always need more. There are other people, they make so much money and they never spend it. They hold on to everything. My teacher used to call these people salty. They suffer because they cling too tightly to what they have and they're afraid to lose it. So what does that show you? It shows you that people don't need the same things. They all have different attachments, different imbalances, different fears, different habits, and different illusions. So no one single ritual is going to change all of that. They have to look inside and find the right balance for themselves. Then they can let go of that attachment and make a real change for balancing their life. If you can let go of these deep-seated attachments, then enlightenment's not too far away. But letting go is not easy. People's attachments are not always so obvious to them. And that's where a teacher can be really helpful. A Zen teacher uses skillful means to help people see themselves more clearly. But skillful means is often misunderstood. In some types of spiritual practices and teachings, people think skillful means is giving the people they're teaching what makes them feel comfortable, so they'll engage more deeply with the teaching. But that's not skillful means. If someone comes with a strong opinion, whether it's good or bad, you have to teach them not to cling to it. Everyone naturally has opinions, but how tightly do you hold on to them? If someone comes with a fixation on something, you have to help them let go of that fixation. Skillful means doesn't entail reinforcing whatever people are clinging to. It means helping people let go of what they're clinging to. It means helping them understand what they're clinging to, recognize it, and let it go. It's a very different approach. So if someone says they need certain rituals or certain practices to fix themselves, skillful means isn't necessarily giving them those things. It might be showing them that they don't actually need those things. And that takes wisdom, and it also takes care and caution. Teachers can fall into traps. If you think you're helping people by giving them the things that make them feel better, you need to be cautious, because you might just be giving them more things to cling to. And that's a slippery slope. Also, if the student gives the teacher the feeling that they're fixing all of their problems, it can feed the teacher's ego. And if the teacher starts feeling that the student depends on them, it can create a feedback loop of codependency. And that's not good for anyone. Every teacher should be aware of this trap. Practice in different teachings are like medicine. If something helps for a short period of time, fine. That's okay. But if you continue relying on it, it can become an addiction. It can even become toxic. All good doctors need to acknowledge this when they prescribe medicine, that too much is not good, or for too long it's not good. They all have to be aware of that. All good Zen teachers need to acknowledge this same thing when they prescribe a certain practice. If a student becomes attached, then part of teaching is helping them let go of that attachment. For a similar reason, living in a Zen temple could be helpful, but not for the reason most people think. For those of you who don't know my story, I lived in a Zen temple for 16 years before starting this school. People look at it from the outside and they think it's helpful because of the schedule, the routine, the forms of meditation practice, the chanting, and the rigid structure. But none of that is the heart of it. The most important thing about living in a Zen temple is the agreement between the teacher and the student. That's what makes it special. When you're living in a temple, you're voluntarily agreeing to put down your ego and follow the rules. That's the agreement. From the outside, people only see the formal rules and structure. But the real training is what that structure is requiring you to let go of. When I was living at the temple, if I asked what the reason for a ritual was or what a chant meant, sometimes I was told, don't worry about it, or just do it. And that may sound harsh to some people, but what I was learning to do was to put down my ego and just do it, to stop clinging to my desire to need to know a reason. If I needed to know why, I learned that I should go meditate, and then I could figure it out for myself. The training was teaching me to put down my ego, to hold my opinions lightly, and understand the source of my desire, so I could see clearly for myself. That's very important. In truth, I know a lot about Zen, but there's still a lot I can't explain to you. I could teach you about Buddhist teachings in the sutras. I could teach you the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These are different Buddhist teachings. I could tell you what I think is right and what I think is wrong, but that's not going to help you. You need to find out for yourself. So the only thing I ever really try to do is empower people by helping them see what's already there. That's it. It's hard work, though. The way I teach really asks you to open your mind. Most people struggle to do it. It scares them. It makes them uncomfortable to realize how much of what they took for granted may not be true. This is extremely threatening to the ego. But when your mind becomes clear, it's not scary at all. It's liberating. You realize you already have everything you need. That doesn't mean you never use different forms of practice. It doesn't mean you never use rituals. It doesn't mean you never use various methods. It means you don't cling to them. In any moment, you can use what's useful and let go of what's not, just by staying present and engaged with what's happening. So then what should you do? Try to release yourself from the grip of your ego. Question all of your tightly held assumptions and opinions. Try to understand where your desires come from. And keep working on all the things in your life that you need to do. This is the essence of don't know mind. Just keep going and try to keep your mind focused 100% on what you're doing, no matter what's happening. Not just when you feel like it or when it's inspiring. Every moment. Eventually, if you keep going like this, you'll begin to see everything clearly. And then you won't have to worry about all of these concerns so much. That is liberation. So now let's come back to the question. Where are you? If you really sit with that question, you may begin to see exactly where you are, or more accurately, where you aren't. And when you see this clearly, that's enlightenment. It's wherever you are, right here and right now. You can see it as soon as you let go. Just keep going. It's closer than you think. Thank you all for coming tonight.